we have elevated activity, okay, then we get the signals and we get the warnings from UV seismic in Trinidad, so that we know what actions to take based on what is happening. So we do have a robust warning system, early warning system for a volcano.
All right. You did also speak about the information being distributed, that is in terms of how an individual will understand it. From time to time, people will get information and may not understand it. The regular, in terms of the wording that it comes with, you understand? Sometimes we don't know it. How is it important that when information is dispersed, especially that gives us a warning that a system is out there, or whatever it may be, tsunami, as you said before, earthquake, how this information should be disseminated, one, and in how the wording of it, how important is that?
Right. So I'll deal with the second part in terms of the wording. So we need to ensure that what we're sending out, any and everybody can understand it. Okay, we will use technical language in there. Okay, but it must be written in such a way that when people hear it, they understand what is going. They get the basic messages from what you're sending out. Okay, so it is critical. Okay, so again, those two elements are timely, okay, and relevant. So it is critical that we send messages that people understand, so that they won't misinterpret what you're saying, okay, and make this and start to panic, because you may send out the information saying that, okay, the Kickham Jenny is active, but there's no need to panic because what we're seeing, is not a major eruption, things like that. You have to ensure that people understand exactly what you are saying, and the how, in terms of how we send out the message now.
That's important.
Yeah, that's important, because people have different means of receiving the information. Okay, some people are radio people, some people are television. There are other people who are only on their smartphone. Right. So people have different modes of receiving the information. So at NADMA, we have to be creative and be able to send out the information using different means, so we can reach different audiences where they are. Yeah, we have to be mindful of that. Not just say, well, okay, we're going to do television and everybody going to see the television. No,
everybody's going to watch the television.
Right,
And it also goes to the form that not everybody's going to listen to the radio.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
More people are on the go these days, so they may quicker look at their smartphone. Text messages coming out there.
And then we have WhatsApp groups.
Exactly. How's it important for information being received from credible sources also? Because a couple of years ago, I remember once there was goes back to the Kickham Jenny. Someone put a picture showing an eruption, and everybody got scared because of that, because there was this Facebook was going around where a major eruption of Kickham Jenny when it was not likely that like that. So sometimes the correct source of receiving your information is also very important.
Right. True. And no, I am happy. I embrace social media. Because I think it is important. It's a wonderful means of getting information out to people. But then there are people who will use social media for the wrong reasons. Okay, to create panic, to that kind of thing. So we have to be mindful of that. But it is important to ensure that you get your information from NADMA. Okay, I say to people, information is available about the storms, the hurricanes, whatever. So you can go onto the NOAA site, you can go onto different sites and get information. But what the Met Office, that's the meteorological office at MBIA, they will take the information, okay, they would tailor it to all locality, okay, to where we are, and then we send it out. So when the international agencies give the broad overview, right, our Met Office, in the consultation with Barbados, Trinidad, with, the regional entities, they would tailor it to suit what's going to happen in Grenada and then send it out. So yes, go ahead, get the information, get an overview, know what's happening. Okay, but still I want you to wait on what NADMA will send out. Now, sometimes, mind you, we may send out the same information that the international agency would give, because what the international agency is going to give may very well be what is
probably broken down come to our territory also.
Right, you understand? So you may send out the same thing, and then you might just look at it and say, the same thing. But then there are times when we have to, look at it and send out specific information based on what's happening locally.
Yeah.
So I urge people to ensure that you wait for that information from NADMA. Yes, you can get the information elsewhere. You can get the information from the international sources, right? We encourage that because to keep people informed. You understand? Let people do research, know what's happening around the world, but depend on NADMA and Met Office. So we work, in collaboration with Met Office. We work closely with the Met Office.
Yeah, they are the forecasters,
that's right.
They are the forecasters, by the way.
That's right. So we work closely with the Met Office. We get the information, we send it out to the public, and inform you as to what's happening. Now, mind you, remember that forecasting, is not an exact science.
Yeah.
They give you based on the conditions, but conditions may change. So they may tell you we will get a lot of rain, but conditions may change and we don't get a lot of rain. Or they may say we just get some light showers. Conditions may change in an hour and we get heavy showers. So we have to be very mindful of that. It's not like you send somebody to the shop and buy 2 pounds of sugar and they come back and give you 2 pounds of sugar.
Right? They cannot predict what is the final outcome. They just forecast.
They can forecast.
They just forecast what the condition is going to be
based on what they've seen.
But they cannot predict that you're going to get rain for the entire day.
Yeah, they can't tell you exactly
what is going to happen.
Although we've come a very long way with radar technology and all of that. We've come a very long way, right, in terms of being able to give information and give precise information and so forth, but still conditions may very well change. Like the last storm that passed through Florida, Ian, and they were expecting a particular path, but conditions change along the way and the storm took another path, and so different things happen. So we have to be very mindful of that.
Right. Important. Interesting information there. Now let's talk also about also the importance of early warning mechanisms. Explain that a bit for me.
All right. So I just wanted to mention here some of the other early warnings. So for example, fires. All right, you have the smoke detectors and so forth. That's an early warning system, right?
Yeah.
Good. Disease outbreaks. The Ministry of Health. So they have the early warning system, the ministries of health across the region, and CAFA. So they're able to look at trends and say this is what is going to happen. This is what we expect to happen to this. So there's again early warning for disease outbreaks, even drought.
Yeah.
Right? We have the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology. They can tell us about drought and predict drought. When we're going to have drought and so forth. But it is very important to be able to give early warnings so that again people know how to prepare, how to respond, what to anticipate, what to expect, and the steps that they need to take to protect themselves. So critical that we give, because if people there's no early warning system for tsunami, and a tsunami is going to occur and people are going about their business as usual, and then a tsunami occurs, then you stand the chance of losing so many lives, whereas if you have an early warning system, then you can warn people and reduce the number of lives lost and that kind of thing. All so right. It is critical to have early warning systems.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back we should chat some more. Probably through the course of the program this morning we may entertain a few phone calls. There are probably individuals who are listening. They may want to ask you a question or two pertaining to this whole, international day risk reduction and so forth. You have the option of calling and asking that. Let's take a break, folks. We're coming right back. Don't touch your dial. It's To The Point for today, first day.
Insurance scheme continues to make it easy to access our services using the MyNIS online platform. Now we're introducing a new feature that allows you to submit your benefit claims from the convenience of your smart devices. No paper, no hassle. All you have to do is log in to my.nisgrenada.org. Select claims, fill out the relevant information, and click submit. We'll take it from there. It's that simple and that easy. Submit a claim from the comfort of your home as you rest and recuperate. Enjoy the convenience of faster claim processing and monitor the status of your claim every step of the way. We are excited to introduce this new feature to better serve you. NIS is changing the game and the way you make your claim. Access anywhere and anytime with My NIS Online.
Raise it high up the ladder.
Folks are sweating, are really sweating. A break of sweat. Now, here's the reason why. Scholar decide he lose the marble, so he organize some fellas in Shantimel, they want to play wind ball cricket. So I take in front, I come down in River Twine, and I get on 2 nice coconut branch, and I have 2 nice coconut bat. All you see them? We're ready for them. That's what I'm sweating too. My 2 coconut bat. So Friday on Week Culture, we go tell you how the match go. I mean, we win our...
Welcome back once again, listeners and viewers this morning. It's To The Point here on GBN TV and K105 Radio. Yes, and we have Dr. Walters with us this morning. And we're talking lots of things in terms of disaster risk reduction, ways you could, of course, prepare yourself just in case a disaster happens, things you could do, the do's and don'ts. Also, let's get into some other aspects of early warning mechanisms. Let's just chat a bit about that before we move into other things. Early disaster warning mechanisms. What are some of the mechanisms that individuals should find out or pay attention to in terms of early warning? What are those mechanisms?
Okay, so another area that we can look at is flooding. And I know that with NAWAS, and so we've set up some monitoring stations in terms of monitoring the rivers. In a couple of areas, so you know when the river is rising, and when it rises at above a particular level, then you can give warning and say, okay, the river has risen to this level, it will burst its banks, so you need to move. So there are some mechanisms in place that will give information. Now, one of the areas, earthquakes. All right, earthquakes. We don't have
how predictable in terms of mechanism for warning.
Yes.
Because sometimes I would say there's not always a way that you could always get that instant warning that a hurricane is going to occur. Because most time it will just happen.
You mean the earthquakes?
The
earthquake, right? Yeah. So there isn't a early warning developed for earthquakes just yet. I'm hoping. I'm always optimistic, right? I'm hoping that in the future we would see that. But as it is now, there's no mechanism to warn you of an earthquake. It will just occur. Right, but the others, the flooding and the droughts and disease outbreaks, and so yes, we do have the early warning systems, and I dare say we continue to work to develop, these various mechanisms, instruments, or even data gathering that we do that will tell us, okay, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. This is what we need to do.
All right. Let me get into how NAGMA plays into this in terms of early warning, and what are some of the policies that NAGMA has put in place, just in case a warning is issued. What are some of the policies that NAGMA has put together that will be thrown out to the public? No one comes out and to say, we actually see a hazard that occur that leads to the disaster. What are some of the policies that NAGMA has put out there that will get activated, especially when a warning is put out?
All right. Well, I mean, the main one is for hurricanes, right?
Hurricanes, mostly hurricanes.
The main one is hurricanes. We're working towards ensuring that we have for flooding, we need to have our hazard mapping and so, all right, ensure that we have hazard mapping, flooding and landslides and so forth. So we can, because you can predict which are the areas that will be impacted based on what is happening.
Yeah.
So we need to develop hazard maps and so. But the main one we have is hurricane, and we do have we do have a plan in place. Hurricane plan that tells us what to do from the very beginning, from the time we get the alert that there's disturbed weather. How we should proceed, how we should engage the public, and the kind of information, how often we should give information to the public, and because it goes right through until the storm, and after the storm, when you give the all clear after the storm, and when people are allowed to go out, and that kind of thing. So that is developed, and we have
how soon does it get kicked in? Mm-hmm. In terms of the warning is issued. Is it that the hurricane is 5 miles off Grenada, also? But that's when those policies get kicked in.
Well, it all depends. It all depends on what is happening, and when and where, because sometimes you get 5 days, 6 days. From the time the disturbed weather, is noticed until impact. So sometimes you have a long lead time. There are other times when you get up in the morning and they say, hey, something has developed to the to the east, and it's 500 miles off, and you just have like a day or two, 24 hours, 36 hours before it impacts. So it does not always give you 5 and 6 days. I think there was one Hurricane Thomas in 2010 to 11, 12, thereabouts. Thomas, and it was like just a few hours you had before impact.
Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned that with climate change, we've seen the hazards doing different things. Different things, sometimes quite unexpected. So that's why we were saying that climate change is real, and we have to expect the unexpected with the various hazards.
All right. So I was trying to get that part from you, where how does the policy get kicked in terms of volunteer folks who will volunteer and shelter and so forth. How does that kick in the early warning system?
Right. Okay. So yes. So from the time we get the notification, then the plan kicks in from there. That early warning system.
Yeah.
So you'd first notify the public, that there's this disturbed weather, and as you continue to monitor and you get reports from Met, then the plan says, this is what you tell the public. This is the information. Then you start preparing your shelters. You start preparing your volunteers. You start preparing. You meet with the National Emergency Council. You have the National Emergency Advisory Council. You meet with them and you make decisions. Do you activate your shelters? Do you open your shelters? Do you activate your emergency operations centers? And that again is based on the information you get from the Met Office. All right, then these different things will kick in as you go along.
Okay, interesting. Don't forget, listeners and viewers out there, we will be entertaining a few of your calls shortly. If you have a question you'd like to ask Dr. Walters, certainly sure he would like to entertain it and answer it for you. Now, let's talk about the disaster management policy on ensuring early warning system and the functionality of it, the reliability of it. Let's chat about that a wee bit.
Well, the national, we do not have disaster management legislation enacted as yet. Right, it's in draft form, and I am hoping that within the next year, right, we'll have the legislation. Because when you're doing legislation, you don't want to just rush and do legislation, right? You want to make sure it is
detailed as much as possible.
As detailed, but I am hoping that within the next 12 months, we will have the disaster management legislation. Very few countries have disaster management legislation. Right.
How important do you think is this legislation on disaster management?
Very important, because if you have legislation, it gives you the authority. While cabinet can give you authority to do things, right? But when there's a legislation in place, you're acting within the law.
All right.
So getting back to the in terms of policy, and so there's the National Disaster Plan. and the National Disaster Plan speaks to how you treat with warnings for the population, who is responsible for doing various things. You have the various subcommittees, public education, there's shelter management, there's health, there's security, there's transport and road clearance. There are different ones, and the plan itself would speak to, okay, these are the committees, these are the subcommittees, this is what is expected, and this is how you inform the public, this is how you treat with the public. So yeah, it is very important that you have plans and policies in place to deal with your early warnings.
That's not, the functionality of it, how does that come into play?
Again, I mentioned the National Emergency Advisory Council.
Yeah.
So whenever there's something happening, there's a hazard, the council will meet. Okay, and the council is chaired by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Or Minister for National Security, or designate, the Prime Minister can designate somebody to chair the council, and the council will meet. They get the information from the various stakeholders, and then they make decisions as to how you treat with the general public.
All right, interesting.
Yeah,
because
so you have authority. Yeah. Okay, it's not just like the staff at NADMA just going off doing their own thing. All right, there is authority from the council, and the council will make decisions and give. So
they will say, well, NAGMA, you can put out that information, get the people alerted that shelter is available here or there where they need to go. Tell people, which we expecting a particular system to hit Grenada in a couple of hours. These are the do's and don'ts. What you should do, prepare yourself. If you know your home is not in a safe location, flood prone per se, make sure you go to a place where you will be properly secured.
That's right.
Your documents,
all those things.
Yeah. So those of you folks who have animals, vehicles and stuff, you have these things secured.
Yeah. So the council would meet and then say, okay, these are the decisions we're taking, and this is what we're doing, and then the NADMA now will just carry out. And again, the council would depend on information from the professionals, right? So the professionals would say, this is what is happening. So the Met Office would give you the information, right? Or whomever else, the seismic research, whomever else would give you information, and then we'd have discussion, and based on the discussions and so, the council would make certain decisions, things that are feasible in terms of saving lives.
How does the communication aspect of this fit in terms of the system that's available, especially locally in Grenada? How efficient is it?
You mean in terms of getting information out to people? Yeah. So that again is because you have the Government Information Service heading the communications or PR committee.
Yeah.
So Government Information Service has they work with all the media houses, so they can get the information out. So you because you want to have the professionals in the various areas. Okay, you want to have people who know what to do and how to do it. So when you have Government Information Service, but NADMA has a PR, and they work with Government Information Service as head of the subcommittee, and then you get the information out to the general population. So there's a good communication structure to get information out to people.
I also want to go along the lines of the just in case there's this disaster that has occurred on island. Let's focus a wee bit on Grenada and the communication aspect. And now you need to know, in terms of sending out the information to the individuals out there, how effective is NAGMA's communication system?
Now, and I want to ask if you were talking in terms of emergency communication.
That's where you're going, right? Along the lines.
So emergency communication, great. Now, I know previously we had issues in terms of the handheld radios and getting communication across the island because of the terrain. It can be very difficult. Okay, because of the terrain. But in the last 3 years, we've developed a robust communication system. Okay, where you can talk. Use handheld radios and talk to people across the state. So, for example, we had a test a couple of weeks ago, and we were able to talk directly to people in Carriacou, PT Martinique, various parts of the island and so forth. And actually we were planning one of that at NADMA sometime coming up soon. So we have the NTRC, Telecommunications Regulation. They have worked with a number of other stakeholders to ensure, okay, that we advance emergency communications on the island. So I am feeling quite confident. We do have some satellite phones on island. Yeah. And some entities have satellite phones, so that again would enhance our emergency communications capabilities. So yes.
I know. I asked a question along those lines because we focusing on early warnings, but even after you won and something occurs, you need to be able to communicate.
Right.
You need to be able to communicate, and communication is an important aspect, just in case we did something beyond that.
That's right. So the emergency communication, I would say that there have been some significant changes, and we will continue to look for ways. What I've seen in one particular country, they bought some mobile antennas that you can, before an event, you put it up, and then after a while, when the event is coming, you take down your antennas, store it, and as soon as the event is over, you put up, and then you have communication again. So that is another. So I guess improvements as you go along.
All right, interesting. We do further the break. Callers, after this break, we will invite your phone calls. For you listeners and viewers out there, you have the option of calling in and asking. And I think we can accommodate a call just before we take this break, because this individual been calling for a while, and in case he may have something important he want to say. Caller, good morning, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, and good morning, Mr. Dr. Walters. I really wanted to be the first person to call to congratulate Dr. Walters. I kind of feel very encouraged that we're beginning to take disaster seriously, and I would say we need to take disaster as serious as we take collecting revenues for the country. It's very serious, and I'm glad that he's there with the level of understanding and what is needed. There's a few points I would like to make in terms of we need to broaden our scope. One of the things I've been concerned about over the years is a warning the experts have been given that the region is due for a tsunami, and I don't think our people and our officials are taking this seriously. That is one. The other thing, in terms of factoring the Sendai framework and linking it with the Sustainable Development Goals so that it could make sense, and even within the framework of climate change, we could do that. And lastly, because I could speak for the rest of the morning, the inclusion of different sectors, apart from, there are two more. Voluntarism needs to become a very critical part of disaster. And then the issue of inclusiveness, people with disabilities, the elderly, we don't plan for them, and of course even children. We need to factor those things, and the whole issue of governance, strengthening governance within the framework of disaster management. Thank you very much, and see you on Sunday, Doctor.
All right. Thank you, caller, there for the information. Anything on what the caller said you want to respond to?
Yes, so the tsunami ready. So we spoke about tsunami, and we overdue for a tsunami, but we're working with a number of agencies, and so for example, St. Patrick and Carriacou PT Martinique. Okay, we did a program with them, and these areas are tsunami ready. So we continue to work on that. And he spoke about the Sendai framework. Yes, the Sendai framework is guiding some of the work that we do. So, but one of the areas that we have to enhance and improve is vulnerable groups. Persons with disabilities, women, children, etc. So we do have to enhance those areas. But yes, thank you very much, caller, for those comments.
We do have another caller before the break. Let's take one other caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. GT. How you do?
I'm doing okay.
All right, and good morning, Dr. Walters. Now, I have a complaint, a problem, and an issue. Now, at my place, the water from part of the government road and also the government land. I dug a drain at my boundary, but whenever the rain falls very heavy, the water run past under the drain that I dug and come down to my place, at times going to the downstairs of my property. Is there any assistance, or is there a program that I get some assistance to dig the drain deeper so that the water wouldn't come to my property, sir?
Caller, I'm not sure if Dr. Walters is able to answer your question relating to that. It's not really the reasons for him being here today. We talking risk management. We talking early warning signs in terms of from NAGMA and the country as a whole. So your case may not be something that he may be able to respond to. Also, so apology for that. All right. I don't think her case is really what we want to discuss this morning. Let's take one more call before we take a break and see if this caller is online with what we're talking about this morning. Good morning to you, caller.
Yes, I'm trying to correct you. Right? You're giving the date. Today is not the 15th. Today is the 13th. Please watch your calendar when you're leaving home.
Did somebody say the 15th? I'm not sure where you're coming from, caller. I'm not sure where you're calling from.
Maybe it was just an error.
Maybe an error, but I can't remember saying today is the 15th. Today is Thursday the 13th. I think that's because I have it right before me. Anyway, let's take a break, and we certainly come right back and with more and get to a stage where we're going to wrap the show up this morning. We're coming right back after the break.
Raise it high up the ladder.
Folks, I'm sweating. I'm really sweating. I break a sweat. Now, here's the reason why. Scholar decide he lose the marble, so he organize some fellas in Shantimel. They want to play wind ball cricket. So I take in front, I come down in River and Twine, and I get two nice coconut branch, and I have two nice coconut bat. All you see them? We're ready for them. That's why I'm sweating too. My two coconut bat. So Friday on Week Culture, we go tell you how the match go. I mean, we win already, but in any event, we ready for them. We have two bat. This one is for Doc, and that long handle, that is for me. So be sure to join us this Friday on Week Culture, and we go tell you all about wind ball cricket as little fellas growing up. When we didn't have wind ball, we play with Gospo, Young, Breadfruit, Lime, and don't forget Compo, but we ain't have plastic now. So we go stick with the wind ball, the Gospo, or the Breadfruit. Friday on Week Culture, join us.
Vaccine safety is always a top priority. Like other vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines being developed have been through the same trial phases and rigorous process required for all vaccines.
Let me say welcome back once again to our listeners and viewers this morning. To the point, today Thursday, and it's the 13th of October. And if I did say the 15th, but I don't think I actually did, but my apology if I did say the 15th. Dr. Walters, we spoke a lot this morning, and the focus was a lot on early warning. And it's been in observance of the International Disaster Risk Reduction Day, and early warning seemed to be one of the topics that we spent a lot of time speaking on this morning. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything further you would like to say to the listening and viewing audience over there for pertaining to that before we take a wrap for today.
I want to, at this point, say to the population that we do have early warning systems in place for some of the various hazards, the hurricanes, the tsunami, volcano, fires, disease outbreaks, droughts, and in some instances flooding. So we do have these early warning systems and information that we put out from time to time. So please take the information seriously, right? We'll give the information, we'll make it as simple as possible and put it out, and you would be able to then make decisions that will reduce loss of lives and reduce damage to property as much as possible. So if because some people just tend to tune off for whatever reason, okay? But it's important to stay alert, because I've seen the experience where people they don't bother, they don't listen, they don't read, they don't hear, they and then when something happened, then we're saying, but y'all didn't say anything. But
sometimes they come up with their own interpretation of what is going on.
But NADMA didn't say anything. How come I didn't hear NADMA? The Met Office didn't say anything, or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But the information was there, but you did not put yourself out to see it, to hear it, because for example, news, right? The news. I always ensure that I listen to the news. Okay, and I try to get my children to, listen to the news so what's happening. So I'm encouraging people to educate themselves, read, research, know what is happening, pay attention, so that when something is happening, you're in the know. You know exactly what's happening and what you need to do. And I want to mention family disaster planning.
Yeah.
Right? Or let me just say family disaster plan. Because your family, you need to have a disaster plan for your family. You can start by a verbal, sit down. This is what we know can happen, and these are the things that we should do. This is what we have in various places and so forth. You have a verbal, and then you can put something in writing. So we sometimes are intimidated when we hear write up a plan, but you just start with a paragraph. And you can expand on that. We all a lot of us have computers, and so you start with a paragraph. Okay, these are the things, these are the hazards that can affect us.
Just in case we get a warning that something's going to happen, this is what we do for one.
This is what we do.
Two. Sometimes simple sentences that will just lead you to. It's just a start of lead to a process of what you will do. So, and constantly going over it.
Yes.
From time to time you call a little family meeting, and you go over it and you say, hey, anytime we get this warning, this is what we do first.
And I can tell you, if you have your children, maybe teenagers, they'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
They'll be happy to sit with you and just write up something. They're on the computer. They'll be happy to type up something, and so it is not a process where you have to. We think it's maybe a parliamentary process or something like that.
No, it's just a part of getting a discipline about yourself and your family.
Right.
Creating a discipline.
With your family, and you get a plan in place. Okay, it's a 1 page. It doesn't have to be a 20-page document and a 100-page document. No, 1 page. These are the emergency numbers. If there's a fire, if there's something, you call this number. If something is happening and we know we can't handle, we go to Auntie Jean's house. Right? If that kind of thing.
And sometimes it's simple procedures.
Yeah.
Simple procedures that you have to follow, and it can save lives and save your family and everything else that comes in between with that.
That's right. So I want to encourage the population, encourage people to start drafting your family disaster plan. Okay, simple plan, but something that will guide your family if there is a hazard.
All right. Dr. Walter, I want to thank you a whole lot for being here with us this morning. Certainly learned a lot, and sure the listening viewing audience out there did also observe what you were saying pertaining to early warning. And certainly they will take it to heart. And when you wrapped up a while ago in terms of what you were saying, start off by creating that family disaster plan. Could certainly save your life.
Yeah.
And you could probably share it with your neighbor too. You never know. They may not be thinking about creating a disaster plan for their family. But you started one and you're having a conversation with them, they could start doing it.
Encourage others.
And it goes along to others and save lives again.
And if I may, just before we close off, just make the point that disaster management, all of us across Grenada should get involved in disaster management, because there's a space for you to volunteer.
Yes.
All right. There's a space for you to become a volunteer. There's a space for you to become part of the district committee. We need people to manage our shelters. Okay, we need people to. We might need a cook. We may need a driver. We may need different people to volunteer.
Somebody will have a little technical skill that can help out at the time.
That's right. So you want to become a volunteer with the National Disaster Management Agency? Feel free, give us a call 440-8390-9123 or 4. Give us a call at the agency and let us know where you're willing, and then we'll help. We'll guide you through the process how you can become involved in the district groups and committees, and how you can become a part of this process, this disaster risk reduction process here in Grenada, where everyone should be involved.
All right. Thank you once again, Dr. Walters. Folks, that's what we come to the end of To The Point for today, Thursday. All you have a great day. Want to know all you were listening. Thanks for being part of it. Have a great day, folks. That's where we say goodbye.